Dear graduating students, dear parents, family, friends, dear Bard College Berlin community, welcome to our virtual commencement celebrating the class of 2021. In late Middle English, virtual meant possessing certain virtues, and virtues would be moral excellence, goodness, and righteousness. All admirable qualities that do not immediately come to mind when we consider our world today, virtual or analog for that matter. Perhaps rather than using the word so absent-mindedly in this digital epoch, we could attempt to reflect upon its original meaning more often, be mindful, and ensure that our contemporary virtual does not deviate so dramatically from its late Middle English relative. I think that this effort actually is one of the cornerstones of our work at Bard College Berlin. Yours is not a degree that acts like a vaccination certificate and testifies that you are immune to the dangers of this world and inoculated against that which does not agree with you. Instead, the experience and the experiment and the studying and the work you did at Bard College Berlin that earned you your diploma may have left you much more in a state of spontaneous, que sais-je, what do I know? This is not a phrase of finality. This is the formula that time and again will allow you and urge you to face the world and act in it and act for it in an open, unprejudiced, curious, and truthful way. 5 lines from a poem by Yehuda Amichai I would like to add. In the place where we are right, there will be no flowers blossoming in springtime. In the place where we are right, the soil is hard and trampled down like that of an inner courtyard. Doubt and love loosen the earth. I now have the pleasure to hand the word to Florian Becker, Managing Director of Bard College Berlin.
Hello, everyone. I too would like to say good afternoon and good morning and good evening. Dear graduating class of Bard College Berlin, dear parents, family, friends, dear board members, dear professors and colleagues, dear guests, it's my privilege and my great pleasure to welcome you to Bard College Berlin's 2021 commencement. We're very glad to be here with you today to celebrate the work and achievements of our graduating students, the successful completion of their studies, and of course, the conferral of their Bachelor of Arts degrees. It's been an eventful and sometimes difficult time. There's much to be proud of and much to celebrate. We're sorry, of course, that we cannot welcome you today to our campus here in Berlin. I take some comfort in the fact that the unusual format of this event, the virtual format, allows those of you who would perhaps not be able to travel all the way to Germany to share this important moment with our graduates. And I know that today's celebration will be a festive and memorable occasion for all of us. Here in Berlin with the graduates and with me, are the 2 individuals who will have the most crucial parts to fill in today's ceremony, the Dean of Bard College Berlin, Professor Catherine Toll, and the Associate Dean of Bard College Berlin, Professor Carrie Bystrom. Welcome, Catherine and Carrie. To begin, however, we shall have some music.
Thank you, Florian. We will now hear the first musical interlude of this ceremony. Build Up, it's called, collectively composed and improvised by Bard College Berlin students, Francis Grimm, Isaac Stewart, Ian Curden, Yao Wu, and Johannes Furtwängler.
Hello, everybody. I'm honored to introduce to you Professor Agata Lijak, one of the two faculty members who are about to give us a joint speech. Agata is the professor of migration studies. She also teaches the BCB internship program, where the discussions with her helped many of us learn about what our labor means. She is extremely knowledgeable on urban and work culture, as well as feminist theory. Agata has a serious yet gentle presence in BCB. She's always there for her students and ready to listen to their concerns. I admire her for being such an understanding, strong, and capable figure to those of us who are guided by her academically and personally.
She is today joined by someone that most of us met at the later stages of our studies here, and someone that we came to see as a voice for modern ideas and modernist forms in this space that revolves in such a large part around the classics. Laura Scoriati is a professor of English literature, but I think of her more as some kind of a travel guide specializing in mental journeys into the city of Dublin, or perhaps a skipper navigating a ship that is sailing upstream on streams of consciousness. With more spiritual journeys ahead for us, we are grateful that she accepted our invitation to share some more travel tips. Please welcome Professors Agata Lisák and Laura Scuriati.
Thank you so much for this extremely warm introduction. Traditionally, a graduation ceremony provides an occasion for students to reflect on what you have learned over the past several years. We want to emphasize, however, that this learning process has hardly been one-directional. We have learned so much from you over the years through your essays, your art, activism, senior projects, and through our everyday interactions on campus.
And haven't we missed them in this long year? We missed walking through groups of you, preparing an assignment in the university corridors, or discussing the latest news and parties. Taking a furtive look at the books that you read over your meals in the cafeteria, sometimes last minute before class, watching artworks, fashion styles, hairdos, collaborations, and friendships develop and blossom. Meeting you by chance at a demonstration after discussing the role of intellectuals and writers in a literature class, walking through the city debating the German Streitkultur after a seminar visit at a literature festival, we missed all that energy. And yet, all that energy is still there, perhaps less visible to us through the screens, but all the more admirable.
It was a joy to begin to get to know you through the first assignments that you submitted during the Language and Thinking program in the summer of 2017. Reading Teju Cole alongside Ursula Le Guin, you reflected on walking as an act of freedom. Inspired by Claudia Rankine, you discuss how conscious indifference towards oppression allows for the continuation of injustice. Having read Judith Butler, you wondered how, if at all, one can identify and exist outside the patriarchy. It was also that summer that you helped me realize, for better or worse, that I wasn't 20 anymore. I remember that during our L&T visit to the library in the DVD room, we chatted about streaming websites and downloading films from the internet. And I warned you against downloading torrents in Germany, to which one of you responded, visibly shocked, "Wow, you know about torrents? My mom would never know that." So thanks for this reality check, but also a word of advice: do not ever underestimate your mothers.
I have met most of you while teaching the core courses and literature classes. I have heard about your personal encounters with Berlin during a guided tour of the city by Refugee Voices. You showed me new and surprising ways of seeing during our visits to Berlin museums for the Renaissance core course. We all struggled, with some pleasure, through Joyce's Ulysses, a monster of a book, as you pointed out, full of unpronounceable sentences that nevertheless seem to prompt us to respond so creatively. And I don't mean in terms of inventing new insults for the author. In our class, I've learned to imagine Ulysses' characters through the eyes of a painter who shared their work with us, to see the connections between colonized countries in the present and the past, and to think of the book as a manual of instructions on what one should definitely not do with the money one doesn't have. The theses you have written are achievements in themselves, but this year in particular, your efforts have been exceptional, and you should be very proud of yourself. I think that I can speak for all of your professors if I say that we're all impressed by the commitment you have shown throughout this terrible year. It was wonderful to see that as you presented your thesis, not in the usual festive setting, but to a mosaic of smiling faces on the screen, your enthusiasm and dedication transformed that unreal grid into a thriving community of teachers, friends, and family across the world.
Your senior projects have taken us on exciting and inspiring journeys across disciplines, centuries, and geographic locations. This year, I had the pleasure to learn about the persistence of misogyny in mainstream Serbian cinema, fetishization of brutalism in Berlin, the workings of food as a tool for community building in times of crisis, and post-migrant cultural activism as a form of disidentification from the dominant discourses of light culture and integration. I was invited to consider how decolonial theory can help understand the survival and resistance of indigenous peoples in Europe's north, how some recent cultural developments in Berlin can be viewed critically as acts of new Orientalism, and how Netflix cynically, if unsurprisingly, capitalizes on popular feminism. I also learned about World Bank's urban infrastructure projects in Lagos and Nairobi, and reflected on the emotional well-being of migrant care workers.
Reading your thesis, I've discovered the many unexpected connections between counterculture comics and the empowering work of the activists for the rights of people with disabilities in the US. Once again, your works reminded me of the power of literature, which can transform Tolstoy and Dostoevsky into James Bond-like characters in order to critique post-capitalist societies, or speak to us about sin and salvation through the superficial and the ephemeral. You have shown me how a 19th century novella about irrational belief, myth, and myth-making can speak to us about our own present moment.
In addition to all the coursework and independent research, many of you pursued social justice projects, jobs, and internships. Thanks to your powerful engagement, we were encouraged to educate ourselves further and take action regarding the plight of asylum seekers at Europe's violent borders and everyday racism in Pankow and beyond. You also channeled your wonderful energy into events promoting emotional health and urban gardening. Some of you connected with peers across the Open Society University network and jointly worked on projects dedicated to issues that are vital to you, regardless of your current location. You developed new cross-campus initiatives, such as the Latinx Club and the Fountain Film Festival, which I truly hope students will continue benefiting from for many years to come.
For many of you this year, commitment has also meant taking care of family, relatives, and friends, managing distance and worry, creating new fragile communities in the face of anxiety and isolation. The communities and acts of solidarity you have managed to keep alive or create anew were visible on screen and on campus. You have shared small sofas, wobbly Wi-Fis, narrow screens, and noisy gardens, created new vegues, cooked and looked out for each other when you were forced to isolate. The strength of this community was evident in the many new collaborations and initiatives that we experienced throughout the year, from the small group presentations in class and the many collaborative individual art projects that you presented in the past week.
Based on everything you have learned and taught us over the past 4 years, you know that there are many ways of being in the world. You can think critically, you can think empathetically, and so you have the tools not just to distrust, but also to actively subvert the neoliberal mantra that there is no alternative. As some parts of the world seem to be slowly emerging from the pandemic, a return to normal becomes the dominant narrative. Yet, as the Indian author and activist Arundhati Roy argued persuasively last year, nothing could be worse than a return to normality. Roy reminds us that historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next.
And this will be the task for the future, dedicating ourselves to building, conceiving, and rethinking societies and communities of care based on solidarity. You've certainly been doing this throughout the year, and it seems that now you're ready to start re-enchanting the world.
Thank you, Laura and Agatha, for these very beautiful reminiscences and a wonderful way forward. I have the honor now to announce another highlight of this evening, which is the presentation by our two student speakers, Danny Dubner and Sam Zemrick.
Hello, everyone. 4 years ago, the thought of speaking, listening, and watching the computer pixels which stand in front of us to mark this moment would have seemed unthinkable. Yet I believe there is something of the beautiful in the fact that across different continents and countries, zones of time and zones of space, somehow we are all here in this moment unknown, trying to understand that the here is. So good afternoon, good evening, and good morning wherever you are. When we arrived here to be what we would become, the streets of the coming years were quiet. The bushes swung timidly with the promise of movement. The pavestones of Pankow said hello, or good morning, or leave me, but we didn't know, because we didn't speak its language yet, and we thought it was cursing, but it was only just saying, to eat here or to go. And we sat under these trees, far from the ones we might have known, to eat from the fruit of its knowledge, from the fruits of a life to come. And in my mind, I'm not sure if it was 4 minutes or centuries or years that have passed, but we woke to find that the day after tomorrow was here, that the here is a mystery, with fertile seeds no less unknown than when we came, holding in our hands what we thought was adulthood, what we thought we knew, and what we thought we were. Now, shocked for passing the mathematics requirement, which might or might not have been a course about alchemy, we found companions through the ages and spoke of love and thought and science, that the earth was not at the center of the universe, and remained confused. We waged fights over dirty kitchens and stolen cheese and marks and God, and in winter we would gaze at the starless skies of Pankow evenings, take A to Z vitamins to combat the seasonal depression, which sometimes came in winter and spring and summer and fall. We wept on library bathrooms 3 hours before the deadline. Okay, to be frank, 3 hours after the deadline. Okay, 3 days after the deadline. We sent mass emails as numerous as the grains of sand, looking for lost wallets, looking for Berlin apartments. It was a scam, it cost a kidney. Looking for the empire's fall, looking to look at what we were looking, and continued to look, searching. What were we searching for? Between the past and future of this dense city, in the eyes of strangers in the M1, in the eyes of childhoods unknown, in the voice of the graffitis which walked the streets, in the chant of paintings in museums that closed and opened and closed, as we closed and opened, watching the night meet the day as an old friend, and roses die in winter so that spring could spring from the seeds that meet an earth to come. And all throughout the years of these lives, which both met and exceeded the 4 walls of classrooms, friends around the corner of streets that have become familiar, fish on Fridays and meatless Mondays, bathtubs and library toilets, books and people that transported beyond what buses or airplanes ever could. I will never be able to find an image of this place, of these years. I was walking through campus yesterday, thinking of these buildings that remain, the cobblestones that have stayed the same as the seasons came and went, as people have come and those who've gone remain, because time is small and the spirit vast. This feeling that what we have lived does not stay in the physical spaces which experienced us, that even when we were in the classroom, the 4 walls dismantled, and we took each other to Persia and Greece and Mexico and Florence and the America of the North and Brazil and Syria and Spain. Took each other to places whose name we do not know, where in its memory something immaterial lingers in the walls with a name unnameable, the place which is not poetry's destination, but only its road. So in thinking about objects, the impossibility of objects or words to vessel what the calendars call years, I will ask the economic and politics students to please forgive me now for the abstraction, which has pained you over the years, but just this one last time. Thinking how objects are insufficient to describe and hold us, because you take a piece of earth or paper or chocolate, and the more you share it, taking it piece by piece, it only gets smaller. You have less and less of it. So I thought of fire, this thing at once material and immaterial, which, if a flame stands alone in a room where other candles are not lit, the more it shares its flame, the more the fire grows. Fire is the only image I could find because just as knowledge, just as love, Just as the sharing of the experiences of life go, it is a thing that does not get smaller, but only bigger, the more it is shared with others. So I would now like to invite the graduating class and faculty to light the candle that they've been carrying close. And I will try to do the same. We cannot be in the same physical space to celebrate this moment, but fire does not arise from nothing. It arises from the atmosphere, which is only ever in wait for it to be lit and shared. Thank you for the flames and wildfires, for the moments when it burned just enough to understand the fire better, and for the nights when it kept us warm. I'm a bit out of words now, but the flame is lit and yours, visible now or concealed as the years march on, in the fertile atmosphere where fire is patient for the moments of return, unforgetful of the flame's warmth. Thank you.
Hello, lovies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, congratulations, everyone. We did it. Thank you for selecting this giddy goth to speak at our graduation. It's an honor and a pleasure. It is lovely to be with you all together one last time, even if it's not in person, even if we cannot exchange warm hugs and experience firsthand the joy of each other's smiles. I hope that will not stop us from relishing our accomplishments or reveling in our joy today. We talk a lot about community in this college. And while it is difficult to define a community in the first place, and even more difficult to imagine one right now, I want us to celebrate ourselves and each other, but remind us that a community is more than colleagues, friends, and classmates. It's a patchwork of people, and therefore a patchwork of worlds. While worlds do collide, these collisions were always mitigated with respect, love, care, empathetic listening, seeing, and helping others see. So when we talk about our diverse community, we should remember that we are the diverse and the critical. We are the inquisitive and the inclusive. We are the creative and the subversive. Each of us has given our thoughts, voice, and body to this notion of community over the span of 4 years. Whether it's during class, the empathetic lunch debates about an intriguing lecture or a problematic section of the core, the long freezing nights at the park across from W15, or the drinking games and pasta bolognese at the apartments, or whatever other nooks y'all hung out at. Together, we have created stories and knowledge and gossip of each other, and each of us contributed a small part to the history and the lore that this tucked away university accumulates each year. But I don't think it stops here. And this is my hope for us, for myself, for you all, that wherever we go, we may bring with us our entire selves and these thoughts and orientations we cultivated and honed against the grain of each other, that we may carry on with the same spirit of openness to the world and the same willingness to listen and to allow to speak, to reflect our diversity, criticality, inquisitiveness, and inclusiveness in any space we enter. The world surely needs it. It needs us to continue cultivating these seedlings of hope, safety, and understanding that we planted here together. So one last thing before I go, and please play along, everyone. I want you to put your right hand on your left shoulder, put your left hand on your right shoulder, and squeeze. This is a hug from you to yourself. If you have someone with you, hug them next. If you don't, hug yourself again. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny, and thank you, Sam. It's true that a hug like that really feels very good, and maybe we're more appreciative of it now that it has been a very isolated time. I would like to open our virtual floor now to a BCB graduate, Maria José Sarmiento, better known as José, who will perform Derecho de Nacimiento by Natalia Lafocarde.
Dum 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 Para curar mi corazón y a la mente dejarla fluir. Para el espíritu elevar y dejarlo llegar al fin. Yo no nací sin causa. Yo no nací sin fe. Mi corazón pega fuerte para gritar los que no sienten, así perseguir a la felicidad. Voy a crear un canto para el cielo respetar, para mover las raíces de este campo y hacerlo brotar, para mover las aguas y el veneno verde que hay por ahí, para el espíritu elevar y dejarlo vivir en paz. Yo no nací sin causa. Yo no nací sin fe. Mi corazón pega fuerte para gritar a los que nos sienten, así perseguir a la felicidad. Es un derecho de nacimiento, es el motor de nuestro movimiento, porque reclamo libertad de pensamiento. Si no la pido, es porque estoy muriendo. Es un derecho de nacimiento, coger los frutos que dejan los sueños en una sola voz y sentimiento, y que este grito limpie nuestro viento. Voy a crear un canto para poder exigir que no le quiten a los pobres lo que tanto les costó construir, para que el oro robado no aplaste nuestro porvenir, y a los que tienen de sobra no les cueste tanto repartir. Voy a elevar mi canto para hacerlos despertar, a los que van dormidos por la vida sin querer mirar, para que el río no lleve sangre, lleve flores y el mal sanar, para el espíritu elevar y dejarlo vivir en paz. Yo no nací sin causa. Yo no nací sin fe. Mi corazón pega fuerte para gritar a los que nos mienten, así perseguir a la felicidad. Y así perseguir a la felicidad.
Thank you, Bose. What are we going to do without you? May I announce now Associate Dean Carrie Bystrom.
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I was thinking when I heard those fantastic talks by Laura and Agata and the students that it would be very difficult to follow up on those lectures today. But I have to say we're lucky to have a commencement speaker who I'm sure will manage to add greatly to the events, as hard as it seems right now at the moment to respond even more than what we've already heard. We have had a distinguished set of speakers in the past since the very first degree BA ceremony in 2012, including the conceptual artist and philosopher Adrian Piper, former ambassador to Germany and current governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, chief correspondent of Deutschlandradios in Berlin, Stefan Detjen, distinguished biologist, ethicist, and GDR opposition leader Jens Reich, and human rights advocate Kimberly Marto Emerson. This year's speaker, Professor Arjun Appadurai, can best be described, if I had to in brief, as an intellectual lodestar. As a public intellectual, he has anticipated and oriented global discussions on topics including globalization, the meaning of modernity, what democracy should look like, and the relationship between language, economy, and technology. I'll share just a bit more of his formal biography before turning to a few reasons why Professor Appadurai is so well suited to speak with this particular graduating class. Professor Appadurai has held many important academic positions, including serving as the provost of the New School from 2004 to 2006. He's currently Paulette Goddard Professor of Media, Culture, and Communication at New York University. Closer to home in Germany, he's the Mercator Fellow at the Free University and Humboldt University in Berlin, and Senior Research Partner at the Max Planck Institute for Religious and Ethnic Diversity in Göttingen. He's consulted for international organizations from the World Bank to the National Endowment for the Humanities. And he's also a founder and now president of PUCAR, or Partners for Urban Knowledge Action and Research, a nonprofit organization based in and oriented to the city of Mumbai in India. Appadurai's many books and other publications include Worship and Conflict Under Colonial Rule, a South Indian Case, Modernity at Large, Cultural Dimensions of Globalization, Fear of Small Numbers, an essay on the geography of anger, The Future as Cultural Fact, essays on the global condition, Banking on Words, The Failure of Language in the Age of Derivative Finance, and most recently, the very briefly titled Failure, co-written with Neda Alexander. One of the reasons that it's so fitting to have him as commencement speaker is that Appadurai's writing is frequently assigned at BCB and in my classes and many others I know. And it seems lovely to enable graduating students to mark the end, such as it is, although not an end as we've already heard so movingly from Sam and Danny, of this phase of their education by returning to some earlier touchstones and helping to think about how they move with us into the future. There's also a strong fit between intellectual approach, Appadurai's calls to focus both within and across fields such as media, technology, and finance resonates deeply with the ambitious work of Bard College Berlin students throughout their whole time, and especially in their theses this year, to develop historically and critically nuanced analysis in and cutting across the fields of art, culture, philosophy, politics, and economics, always alert to the different vantage points brought to their ideas by our many other international students. Particularly resident with us at BCB as well is the emphasis that Appadurai has consistently placed on ideas, imagination, and aspiration as social forces. He asks us to recognize the capacity to aspire of everyone as something with concrete impact, as well as transformational theoretical possibilities. Last but not least, let me say that when we invited Appadurai to be our commencement speaker originally for the ceremony last year in June 2020, which was postponed on account of COVID-19, he was professor for anthropology and globalization at the Hertie School of Governance in Berlin, where many BCB students attend. And we were very enthusiastic to create that kind of link between the current and future institutions. It's my even greater pleasure to say in the meantime that Appadurai will become the Max Weber Global Professor at the Bard Graduate Center in New York, beginning on July 1st, 2021, and will therefore be joining our intellectual family in an even more profound way. Professor Appadurai, all of us at BCB, thank you so much for taking your time today and very much look forward to hearing your thoughts for our current class of graduating students. The virtual floor, such as it is now yours.
Well, thank you very much, Kerry. Thank you to all of you who are involved with studying at Bard, teaching at Bard, managing Bard, thinking on behalf of Bard. I'm really, truly honored. Berlin has a lot of things, as I will say in a minute, but Bard Berlin is surely one of the jewels, one of the recent jewels in this crown, this urban crown, which has had a long, long history. But I am really honored to be here. So let me say that I am truly delighted to be part of this special day and this wonderful ritual of celebration and passage. Like Kerry, I'm a little terrified because of the eloquence of everyone who has spoken so far to come at this stage in the game, but I have this time. You have to put up with me, even though you've heard much of the most wonderful thinking and speaking that I've been exposed to for a long time. So let me just march on and offer my congratulations to all of you who have gathered many experiences both in and out of the classroom in this remarkable college, in this unique city. Bard Berlin, to me, is part of a remarkable educational universe with its center in New York State and its radiant and radiating spokes reaching out across Europe and the world. When I was 17 years old, and I was once upon a time, just beginning college in Bombay, in India, I was bitten by the American bug and applied to a handful of fantastic American liberal arts colleges. Among them was Bard. This is 1966. Already well known for its mixture of experimentation and rigor, I ended up going to another fine college in the US, but Bard has always been part of my life and work ever since. I studied with Hannah Arendt at the University of Chicago in the early 1970s. I've spoken at the Hannah Arendt Center at Bard not so long ago, and I'm a supporter and follower of the virtual reading group and many other things, and have had the pleasure of meeting Leon Botstein, the remarkable visionary leader of Bard, many times over the last few decades. So Bard Berlin is for me a fabled galaxy, and you are its most recent crop of stars. I know you've all studied different things and are now launching into different paths and ventures for the next phase in your lives. Still, I believe you will always carry with you some things from your Bard experience in Berlin. One is that learning can never be bought, sold, packaged, or bottled into degrees, courses, and jobs. It is an open resource built on the classical skills of reading, writing, listening, and inquiring. The inquiring mind is more than the curious mind. The inquiring mind is disciplined by reading and listening. Its curiosity is trained and learned. The sort of teaching and learning you have enjoyed and participated in at Bard Berlin is also not just a raw experience. You have an education which has showed you how to make your experiences, plural, into experience, singular. At Bard, I'm sure you've begun to practice the great skills of learning to live, and have absorbed the idea that living and learning are two sides of the same coin. You have also learned, I'm sure, what I gained from my own undergraduate experiences, that learning is a collective endeavor. both because one reads books with groups, debates ideas with friends, and exchanges opinions with teachers, but also because one joins a conversation between minds, books, works of art, and music and literature, which bridges continents, centuries, and cultures. You are now a part of this ceaseless conversation. You will never be alone. And you have done all this in Berlin, even if the last year has been truly challenging because of the lockdown and its restrictions. Berlin will leave you with memories of a remarkable place. It is perhaps the most multicultural city in Europe. It is the sole big city in the world to have been physically divided by the Iron Curtain. It has more artworks, historical monuments, archives, and museums devoted to World War II and the Cold War than any other European city, to my knowledge. All this and more have been woven into your BARD experience by your teachers, your visiting lecturers, your field trips, your colleagues, your cohort, and your life experiences here during your studies. And these amazing assets will be your biggest strengths in facing the challenges of the world we live in today, on which a few words now. The principal challenge we face today is that our problems are primarily planetary: climate, migration, inequality, to take three big ones. And our solutions are mostly defined by nation states. That is because our fundamental design for governance is still Westphalian. Its architecture places sovereignty, territoriality, and citizenship in the same envelope, and insists that only such envelopes are legitimate actors in negotiating global peace and sustainability. How can we help to find other designs for citizenship and coordinated planetary action? One strategy is to rethink our current emphasis on rights, an idea which was a giant step for humanity in the 19th century and still until today. But it may have outlived its exclusivity as a criterion for human development in a planetary age. We need a complementary idea of, word that came up here today already in what Kerry said, aspirations, as a basis for global citizenship and planetary governance. Rights are concerned with minimum standards of well-being for humanity, whether in matters of dignity, property, or prosperity. Aspirations expand this minimal idea and highlight the future, our hopes, expectations, and plans, which all human beings have and all should be entitled to have. Rights without aspirations can become uniform and legalistic. Aspirations can be expansive and culturally diverse. Aspirations always involve greater recognition, increased security, better opportunities, and superior protections compared to what any society or person enjoys at the present. A second strategy, in other words, for addressing global problems in a new way, is to rethink the idea of the social contract, which emerged in the modern liberal West as a countervailing idea to the monopoly of sovereignty by kings and nobles. The people exchanged freedom for peace in the original idea of the Hobbesian social contract. In later variations of the idea of the social contract, the people themselves came to be defined as a source of legitimate power, and the social contract evolved, at least in theory, into a way of making basic agreements between equals about safety, property, and life itself. Yet, even these liberal and democratic ideas of the contract remain fundamentally yoked to the boundaries and interests of the nation state, and stops abruptly at its boundaries, after which predation, realpolitik, and sheer force tend to take over. So I urge you, among the many things you've been urged to do, to revisit the ideas of the great French anthropologist Marcel Mauss, who realized that the modern contract has its roots in the ancient and broadly global idea of the gift. Mauss's governing idea was through the giving and receiving of gifts, whole social groups created long-term bonds beyond the limits of profit and interest and widened the net of the social and the human. For the planetary world in which we live today, we need to bring back this idea of reciprocity, gift, and solidarity to redefine the social in our social contract and to redefine the sense of contract to go beyond law and rights to ethics and the planetary good. This new social contract would need to make a bold shift from the paradigm of the market to the paradigm of the planet. Our current framework, both normative and practical, of rights, duties, and claims, is almost entirely related to and dependent on the emergence of the modern industrial economy, its corporate agents and institutions, and the competitive modern nation state as the ally of such market-defined ideas of property, identity, and obligation. Shift to the planet, capital P, as our new paradigm for the social contract would mean building it on very different ideals, primarily those of collectivity, sustainability, and cooperation. Each of these three terms is old and has often been used loosely to promote and sometimes disguise market values. These terms need to be revitalized and remobilized in a new social contract which promotes the interlinked virtues of generosity, trust, and nonviolence between individuals, communities, and states. These suggestions can be part of what you consider as you enter the next phase of your lives. It is a rough time to be young, but it is also the best time to be bringing your best energies to the global problems I have briefly outlined. These problems need your imagination, your vision, your grit, and your compassion. You are the building blocks of a new set of foundations for our world. You have learned from and debated with remarkable friends and teachers. You are ready to fly high. Take this world with you and do not let it succumb to its many problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Arjun. That was incredibly thoughtful, and it's so wonderful that you brought out these important terms: gifts, aspirations, solidarity, cooperation. And thanks as well for that wonderful line that stuck with me from what you said. You're now part of this ceaseless conversation. You will never be alone. And I just want to echo that for all of our students. Thank you so much.
I now have the honor to call out the names of the graduating students. And we will start with the graduates of the OLIVE program, which is the Open Learning Initiative program that ran here at BART Berlin. Karam Abdin, Alam Al-Omar Al-Akili, Ibrahim Al-Qassem, Sayed Youssef Al-Muhafda, Dalal Alous, Zaina Al-Sayrafi, Gaita Al-Shah, Wael Geshlafi Jazayeli, Manal Mahouf, Felix Samuel Osadabewem, Rassan Skeif, Asma Gaber Ahmad Yusuf. Follow with the Academy Year graduates. Daphne Babakan, Antoine Paul Dickmans, Fiona Hastings French, Fedor Larionov. And we now go to the graduates of the BA program at Bard College Berlin. Maya Abdulkader, Beltran Gabriel Arellanes, Ariana Ariane Assel, Charlene Battle, Mary Grace Lorraine Campbell, Karina Sudhir Shada, Andre Shiva, Hyuna Chow, Skylar James Carden, Milania Damjanovic, Yuan Fang Ding, Roxanne Roman Drury, Matthias Georgi Andre, Ocean Emma Fry, Sami Kibrom Gereskier, Angus Scratch Green, Ethan Ruben Gutmann, Alva Rosina Guzzini, Adib Farhan Hadi Hadi, Angela Huang, Alexandra Rose Huff, Federica Yani, Aziza Izamova, Pauline Jeckels, Lucari Bear Jordan, Tinka Drake Joyner, Ching-Yu Kao, Simon Lowell Kasberg, Mohamed Nafe Kurdi, Valentino Michelangelo Lavilla, Jonas Gabriel Dylan Lieb, Danny Mammerstein-Dubner, Sophia Meyer, Ryan Aaron Miller, Muhammad Esham Moadamani, Idil Morseliolu, Elena Rahel Kira Müller, Amy Claire Murphy Putnam, Muhammad Ali Nana, Veneta Nayu, Jelizaveta Ostrovska, Mohammad Otman, Sujita Prabhakar Parshi, Adriana del Purait Ordóñez, Mateo Rodriguez, Lee Sher Ronan, Maria José Sarmiento Isaac, Hannah Magdalena Sharmer, Rebecca Prindle Singer, Caleb Matthew Smith, Kaya Sky Stein, Roman Steindler, River at Wood Tabor. Esme Thompson Turcott. Michael Tufan Torkaman. Claire Marie Jucker. Christine Anna van den Berg. Solveig Justine Vanje Salvesen. Anna Louise Felicity Winslow. Frances Queen Witherspoon. Sam Zemrick.
Auctoritate mihi commissa. Let's do the rest in English. I hereby confer upon the members of the graduating class of 2021 the degree of Bachelor of Arts, and on behalf of all of the professors at Bard College Berlin, convey our congratulations to each one of you and our dearest wishes for your future, for your happiness, your success in the true senses of that word, and for your continued enjoyment of all the things you've learned during your years of study. That's our version of the elaborate Latin formulation that is customarily used on these occasions, which often has the aura of a magic or religious transformation, when the truth is your degree has already been earned and the magic has been in your work and in your conversation with your teachers and with each other. Instead of delivering a charge, I want to introduce a word from the people who've made all of this possible and thank them too as we join them in celebrating your achievement. Here's a message prepared for this special day from your parents.
River Atwood Tabor, super proud that you've made it to this point and are achieving all of the things that you've wanted to achieve since you were a little boy.
Per aspera ad astra, as we Latins say. Congratulations.
Yay, Kaya! Kaya, woohoo!
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Hey, now congrats.
Well done.
Celebrations from Salt Lake.
Boston.
Boston.
Amsterdam.
Lausanne.
Milan.
Congratulations.
A gente ama muito você.
Muito, 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 muito.
Лиза, с победой тебя и в добрый путь.
Лизик, чтобы у тебя всегда была возможность делать то, что хочется.
Baby, I'm so proud of you. I love you.
Te queremos mucho, José. Muchas felicidades.
Felicidades, José. Te amamos, nos inspiras.
Corazón, muchas felicidades. Estamos muy orgullosos de ti y de tu gran éxito. Muchas felicidades. ¡Te amamos, bombón!
Hey, Beck. We're impressed by the great work you've completed over the 4 years at Bard. To quote one of your professors, you seem to have milked the BCB experience for all it has to offer. Congratulations on a job well done.
Love you forever.
Claire, this is your congratulations video. I wanted to do it on my own because, you know, you're the most like me. We're so alike, you're so awesome. Congratulations so much.
Wait a minute. No, she's most like me. She's smart, she's gorgeous, she's talented. You're all those things.
No, stop. Okay, she's actually most like me. She's my best friend. We're so proud of her. And scene.
Congratulations! Way to go, Claire! Go Bard, graduates! Woo!
Lieber Lucari, 22 Jahre. Dein Granddad und ich sind so froh, dass wir ein Teil deines Lebens sein konnten. Wir haben dich sehr lieb und wir sind sehr stolz auf dich. Herzlichen Glückwunsch zum Bachelorabschluss.
Congratulations, Lucaria, on this wonderful step in your life. Keep it up. Carry with you always the love of your own me and myself, and carry it wherever you may be.
Sophia, congrats on graduating. The whole family is super proud of you and all your accomplishments. You work hard. Hard work pays off, so you better be feeling paid off.
Соня, я тоже присоединяюсь к поздравлениям. Мы тебя очень любим и гордимся тобой. Уверен, тебя ждет большое будущее. Поздравляем.
We love you.
Congratulations, Tinka! We love you!
Congratulations, Tinka. We love you. Wonderful, darling. We're so proud.
You go, girl.
Yellow blue bus.
I'm so proud of you.
Congratulations on your graduation.
Congratulations!
Oi, this is just to congratulate my favorite graduates, Benetta and Charlene. I just want to say how proud I am and so excited to see what comes next for you guys. I wish I was there. Love you, love you, love you, my fofas.
Congratulations,
Seniors,
we
are
so
happy
for
you.
nice.
Hey seniors, congratulations. You guys have worked so hard and endured so much, and we're all very proud of you. Great job and congrats.
That was heartwarming and incredibly beautiful, and perhaps a little bit of the silver lining to the virtual character of this ceremony. I now give the podium again to Florian Becker, and after Florian's words, we will close the ceremony with another musical piece. This time it's a song by Talking Heads, This Must Be the Place, and it's performed by BCB students Julian Tillman, Francis Grimm, Nick Fellows, and Owen Salamunovic.
Dear graduates, there you have it. You are now the Bard College Berlin class of 2021. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, you will always be members of the Bard College Berlin class of 2021. And you are, of course, an historic class, whether the coronavirus pandemic of 2019 to 2021 will be the first of many, or whether we will be able to look back to it as a singular and strange time that we are glad to have left behind. My hope for you is that what will stay with you from your time at Bard College Berlin is precisely not what was historic about its ending. What will stay with you, I think, is not quarantines, travel restrictions, and PCR tests. It's not tiles on your computer screens, confinement to your household group, or conversations shouted across lawns at sub-zero temperatures. What will linger with you, I believe, and what will keep doing its work in you, and what will come back to you when you least expect it, is that poem that startled you when you first heard it in Language and Thinking. The painting you'd seen 100 times before that kept getting stranger, more layered and more revealing the longer you looked at it in class. The argument you disagreed with so vehemently when you first read it, but that unfolded its strength as you kept going over it. And that classmate who seemed a bit weird and perhaps even arrogant when you first met, who is now your most trusted friend. That's my wish for you, and it's also my confident prediction. It was a privilege for us to teach you. Congratulations, goodbye, and good luck.
way about it, the better. Make it up as we go along. Feet on the ground, head in the sky. It's okay, I know nothing's wrong, nothing. Oh, we got plenty of time. Oh, you got light in your eyes, and you're standing here beside me. I love the passing of time, never for money, always for love. Cover up and say goodnight, say goodnight. Home is where I want to be, but I guess I'm already there. I come home, she lifted up her wings. I guess that this must be the place. I can tell one from the other. I found you or you found me. There was a time before we were born. If someone asks, this is where I'll be, where I'll. Oh, we drifted and out. Oh, singing to my mouth. And of all those kinds of people, you got a vision of you. Yeah. I'm just an animal looking for a man. Share the same space for a minute or two. And you love me till my heart stops. Let me tell you that eyes that light up, I look through you. Cover up the blank spots, hit me on the head, and I go,
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations! Поздравляем, поздравляем! Поздравляем!
Congratulations.
We miss you!
Oh my God! Hey, Ayana.
We're all there in Berlin with you.
No, y'all send me.
Bravo!